style that Christian brings to the movie. And Den of Thieves 2 really does go, I'm going to take these ugly American characters and the antics of someone like Big Nick, and I am going to shift the locale and shift the writing and the style and the mood of everything as well. Because this is like Big Nick is, in this case, Butler is playing his character a little bit more weary, a little bit more stoic. He still has some personality where he's being funny, but he's not doing the like overwhelming, like menacing chaos he does in that first film, where he goes up every time he walks into a scene. It's a dick measuring contest where he's going to flatten some fucking guy. Yeah. And in this case, it is more like, I'm going on a European vacation and I hate fucking being a cop. I'm going to go on a European diet and I'm going to eat croissants and drink espressos and eat gelato. And I'm going to explore what being like a cool criminal with sunglasses on, like Donnie is like.
And he almost like, he kind of sinks into, especially in the first one, we see that he's not good with relationships whatsoever. Friendships, his wife, it really doesn't matter. He kind of has his team, but it's very much focused on the work, taking down the bad guys and everything. He doesn't have really anyone to attach to emotionally. And with this, it is interesting to watch his character go from that trashy, very isolated almost character and go into enjoying the relationships that he gets with the gang that he's doing the heist with. Like they have these sequences of them, listening to music or partying at the club, which is of course a really good scene and almost a kind of a callback to the first one a little bit, at least in its tone. But it's cool to see Big Nick like embrace friendship and embrace something more loving
with criminals too, because there's something about the fact that when that club sequence, one of my favorite in the entire thing.
Oh, definitely.
Because, again, it feels like Big Nick and it feels like Christian and it feels like the entire franchise was like this modulation in style and tone is everyone's trying on a new suit. Yeah. And so the American reference points have kind of passed away, and we're going to do this more moody Euro crime, like neo-noir type thing. And so, Big Nick and Donnie are having old school, like buddy movie vacation hangouts, like in the south of France, essentially, for most of this movie.
To house music.
And when he takes them to the club and they're rocking the Hawaiian shirts, like straight up Miami Vice style or whatever, and he goes in there and he starts talking with the criminals, and they, give him some ecstasy and they give him some other drugs as well. And he literally just starts bonding with them and going, man, it was like fucked up what we did to you guys in like the 80s, man. Like, I'm sorry for all that. And then literally they all start bonding over going, yeah, fuck NATO. And
there's these great like hyper cuts to every character saying it. And of course, Gerard Butler's just delivery is so good and passionate and incredible. And then he's like sweating and dancing with one of the gangsters' girls that I think he ends up kind of having a little thing with. And, he gets the classic warning of like, you could break up the team right now, be careful, all that stuff. But they're still men about it, like in that sense of it's your problem, not mine. I'm not dealing with it. Where like the one part I liked was where Jackson is told to go tell him, and then he tells him, and because he's Big Nick, he's like, oh, okay, yeah, and then keeps doing it. And Jackson's just like, hey, I told him, it's up to him now. He doesn't have this like exaggerated thing of like, no, we need to stop. He's just like, hey, he's his own man. Do your thing, bro. I told you what the consequences are.
Big Nick is just like so enjoying this, like, sort of this quasi sort of like undercover style thing that he gets to do. And it's so much like Colin Farrell in Miami Vice when he starts hooking up with Gong Li's character. Yeah. And it's literally like, and Jamie Foxx really like, dude, what are you doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Stop this.
This is dangerous work you're doing right now. Yeah. And I do love, like, again, you're adding like into the more European elements. So specifically in this scene, and I think there's a couple more elements of this where they do more like electronic music, like house music is a big thing in this in this scene. Christian, even in the interview, I think was mentioning that was a thing he wanted to kind of accent. And also something that he said in the interview I found interesting was him not viewing, like, it's pretty obvious to us when we watch it. It's like we're viewing this character as kind of more trashy or whatever. But I do like that his perspective on it, to still find the humanity of the character, is to not view them as bad, which is, I guess, kind of even maybe a cliche in the sense of writing. But
Yeah.
it
No,
but it
as the
creates
person
a
who
love.
writes this character, you need to treat them seriously like a real person.
Yes, and
Like,
so I
yeah.
think that's why you actually do find dynamics that are interesting and fresh with Big Nick in this. Because I will admit, the first time I watched this, I've seen this twice now. I actually didn't really like this the first time because I think I had that expectation thing going too much into it. I was like, I want the trash again. I want, Big Nick saying all these stupid shit, going onto a crime scene and eating a half-eaten donut that's almost covered in blood. It seems like, that just wild, ridiculous shit like that. And
Drinking Pepto.
yeah, exactly. And like getting a divorce and yelling at the stepdad and stuff. I'm just like, this is cinema. This is great stuff. And so when it switches into a more like almost like a movie about like friendship and the loss of that eventually when you have to, do your job at the end and everything, I'm like, I needed to buy into the Butler and Jackson dynamic. And the first time, I just don't think I did because of what I was expecting. The second time I was able to let go of that and be like, let's just embrace what this movie is and the kind of whether or not you want to call it an upgrade, an evolution, whatever, just the new take on Big Nick. And I really, it did work for me that time around. For me, I will say though, I'm not the biggest fan of O'Shea. Is it O'Shea? O'Shea Jackson?
Yeah, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Mr. Ice Cube Jr.
Yeah, and I'm not like, I don't want to throw shade or anything. I find him to be very like stoic and kind of dull, to be honest, as a performer. In a lot of what I've seen. And so I just didn't super buy into their like friendly dynamic as much as I think I should. But that being said, I buy it from Gerard Butler's perspective, and it is more hyper focused on that. So I was, again, a second time I was able to dive